Let me start off by saying that I don't know what I'm looking for in this post. Perhaps I want someone knowledgeable to explain to me why someone would cheat 3 months before their wedding with an absolute loser. I just figured it was a good place to lay out the full story and get it off my chest. 6 months ago, I walked in on my fiance in bed with my friend's brother 3 months before our wedding. My fiance, 24 female, and I, 28 male, have been together for nearly 6 years. D Day was 3 months before our wedding. Few months before D Day, my fiance lost her job. Since we have known each other, she has always been in and out of jobs. She has never lasted for more than a year at a job. It's either she gets fired or she quits. It was never her fault. I had always believed her because I loved her. When you love someone, you tend to believe in them, and your level of acceptance of their BS increase. I employed her to work for me on a part-time basis because I owned a shop. It didn't take long before I found out why she couldn't keep a job. She's always late, always makes excuses, and never disciplined enough to finish a task. She rather talk and socialize than work. But despite that, I looked past her flaws because I loved her. She was my first love, first kiss, first everything. We had grown so much together through these last 6 years. Although things have been rocky sometimes, I truly believed she was whom I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. I couldn't, and still can't, even fathom somebody else in my life. But she left me with no choice. 3 weeks before D Day, we had our wedding shower. It was anxious, stressful, and etc. But we really did have a great time and appreciated all the families and friends that came to show their support. It was our first event leading up to the May wedding and made things feel much more like a reality. During that period, we have been visiting my best friend's house often, and his brother recently moved in with him. My fiance became friends with him. He's 21 years old. Let's call him Brandon. Brandon is the younger brother of my best friend. So, although some people are very skeptical about their partner having friends of the opposite gender, I justified it. Brandon lived with his brother in a two-bedroom house. He is unemployed, so his brother was allowing him to stay at his house since he had space available, and Brandon didn't want to continue to live with their mother. Brandon is super quiet, shy, and socially awkward. The excuse she would use to justify hanging out with him was that she wanted to help him out of his shell, as my fiance was a social butterfly. I am a business owner, and I own a shop. I work long hours, especially in preparation to spend so much money on our wedding. Most of the guests that are coming to the wedding are from my fiance's side. The only income my fiance earns is what I pay her for working for me part-time. So 100% of the wedding expenses is covered by me. All my fiance was responsible for was the planning. My best friend was also in the same business as me, but much smaller scale, and we sometimes had to use or share the same equipment and borrow from one another. A few months before our wedding, my fiance started taking some hours off work, and her excuse has always been that she was planning something that has to do with our wedding. She uses anything that she could to make excuses. Our wedding is no different. I knew that was BS, but I always let it slide and ignore her because I don't need her most of the time. Till it became normal. One day, I had to get something from my friend's house. He borrowed my tool and left it in his garage. So I was supposed to come over and pick it up because he was too busy and I needed it as soon as possible. I had to go and get it myself. He told me that Brandon is home, but he might be sleeping because he is jobless. So he didn't want me knocking on his door all day. So he gave me his keys to let myself in and take what I needed from his garage. I closed my shop before I left because I didn't have anyone to watch my store. My fiance made her normal excuse that she was going to meet the planner for our wedding. It was supposed to be a quick drive to my friend's house. His garage door wasn't working, so I had to go through his front door, then through his corridor to access his garage. As I was walking towards the garage, that was when I heard moaning. It was clearly a sound of a woman. I smiled because I thought Brandon had scored. I didn't think he was capable of pulling a woman because he was so quiet and shy. Never in my wildest dream did I expect the woman to be my fiancée. I moved through the garage as quietly as not to make any disturbance. After I took what I needed, I headed back to the front door to exit the house, but stopped halfway when I recognized the sound of my fiancée. Immediately, it all added up in my head. I placed the tool on the corridor and slowly tiptoed closer to the room where the sound was coming from. The room wasn't far from the corridor, so I was right on the front door after a few steps. Then another proof that confirmed that it was my fiancée was her shoes were on the front of the door. Now I was certain that it is her, and I was close enough to recognize that my fiancée is the woman that was moaning. I twisted the doorknob to open it, but it was locked. I had to force my way in and broke the lock. As soon as I forced myself in, I saw my fiancée trying to cover herself behind Brandon. Brandon is holding a clothes hanger to protect themselves. It was very comical looking back, but it wasn't funny to me in real time. When they found out that the person that just forced his way through the door was me, my fiancée came out from behind him and started to apologize. Initially, she said that it was a drunken mistake. It never happened before. She knows she effed up, etc. I asked her if this is what she has been doing when she leaves the shop. Is this how she plans our wedding? I asked her how long it has been going on, and she lied that it was the first time. I wanted to beat the hell out of Brandon, but the kid was too weak and fragile that it's hard to believe that he made the move on my fiancée. I figured she was the one that initiated it. I remember having a deep pain that for the past few months, I have worked so hard to make enough money to pay for the wedding, and here she is, screwing another guy. Nothing hurts more than finding out that my efforts had been in vain. Me and my fiancé were arguing in Brandon's room while he slipped away, realizing that having a conversation with her was pointless because she was lying through her teeth, even though she had been caught red-handed. The more she lied, the more I became enraged. It started affecting me physiologically. My knees were shaking, and it was getting weak, and I felt like it would buckle. I started hyperventilating, and then I stormed out of my friend's house to get some fresh air. I called my friend and told him what I just found out, and I asked him how long he had known about this. He swears on his daughter's life that he is as shocked as I was. I didn't know what to do. I didn't feel like going back to work that day, so I went to the bar to get some drinks and to think. My friend called me, but I was lost in thoughts and didn't answer. I felt like I was a fool for not suspecting anything. I felt like an idiot for trying to marry someone that I thought I knew. We have been together for 6 years. I thought that was enough time. The love I had for her had blinded my ability to see her for who she really is. She could be selfish and demanding, and sometimes she would belittle me in front of our friends. However, I was so in love with her that I didn't see these flaws. All her negative qualities became more apparent. Things that I was so blind to before I caught her cheating, I could see now. I had convinced myself that her jumping from job to job is because her managers wanted to have excess with her, and when she refuses, they fire her. That was one of the many excuses she gave me, and I believed it because I loved her. The days following, she tried to convince me that we didn't have to cancel the wedding, and that she would never speak to him again. She said that I am whom she wanted to be with, and that she did this because I wasn't giving her words of affirmation and affection she desired, and that I was always working. I told her someone has to work around here, and I was working for us to have a wedding, and Brandon was always available because he's unemployed. I can't help but to believe that the affair has been going on for a while. She claimed that I have walked in on the first time, but they have been spending much more time together lately, and I have tried to look past it as I always thought that they were just best friends. Once I told her that we have to split and wanted her out of my house, her whole tone changed. Then it became, now that I have time away from this house, I realize that this isn't what I want, and I have been a coward by not telling you. I have not wanted to be with you for a while. Honestly, it's painful I found out. So she never wanted to be with me. Yet she was about to get married to me in 3 months. We have already sent invitation to family and friends. Clearly she was with me for what I can provide for her. She seemed to regret it at first, but that regret and guilt that she felt the first day has completely seemed to dwindle away because it became clear to her that we are no longer going to get married and I was going to kick her out of my house. She tried to get me jealous by saying that she was going to move in with Brandon. Brandon is unemployed and he is weak and shy and can't even get a job. He's leeching off his brother and she's going to move in with him? Brandon is living off his older brother and they are both going to leech off his brother? I told her that she didn't think her affair through. I had a feeling that my best friend wouldn't jeopardize our friendship by allowing her to stay. While she was packing her things to leave my house, I reminded her that she was fired. She responded by saying that my business sucked and saying all kinds of terrible things about my business. Same business that has been feeding her for the past month. Fast forward 3 weeks later, she moved the last of her things out of my house and taken 2 of our 4 dogs with her. My house was a wreck as she took all the living room furniture, our bedroom TV, dining room, table, and etc. Granted, she paid for some of it prior to moving in together, and some was given to us by her godmother. However, she's taken every possible thing that she's justified in taking. She admitted to me that she and Brandon had a serious feelings for each other. They continued to be intimate since I cut them the first time, and they continued to see each other for a few weeks after. After she moved out, she seemed to show no remorse for what she did and seemed acting happier, living in this fun little fling with this guy who has no job, no education, and lives with his brother. Till the money started to run dry and they both couldn't find a job. I gave her everything that she could possibly need. I took care of her and taken a parental type role, which I think had slowly deteriorated our love and affection. However, the love I've had for her was a sad tale, best forgotten. She's diagnosed with severe bipolar and struggles heavily with depression and anxiety. I have done my best to help her mental state in the last 6 years that I believed it has negatively affected my own. But that was just one of the sacrifices I made because I love her so deeply. 4 weeks after we broke up, she tried to move in with Brandon. When Brandon started sneaking her in behind my best friend's back, he kicked both of them out of his house, and Brandon moved in with his mother. It took about 2 months for the affair fog to come off her eyes. Then she realized that she had made a mistake. She called me and apologized, but I felt like my trust had been betrayed, and I needed time to process my emotion. She's only regretting because she now had to move back in with her parents and start looking for a job. I was devastated when I caught her cheating. The wedding cancellation affected her more because most of the invitation was sent to her family members. She tried to make up lies on why we broke up and how we were both cheating on each other. But I sent a Facebook message to all her friends and relatives that I know and told them the truth. I took a financial hit because I already made a down payment for some of the wedding expenses. Over the past few months, I focused on myself, spent time with friends and family, and started to rebuild my life. I thought about my fiancée often. I knew that I couldn't just forget what happened. About 2 months ago, out of the blue, she contacted me. She apologized again for what she had done and told me that she had made a huge mistake. She said that she still loves me and wanted to try to work things out. She told me that she's no longer seeing Brandon. She told me that we will start slowly again so she can build my trust, and that this time things will be different and she would do whatever I ask of her to fix our relationship. I responded to her that I have moved on and there is no going back from the betrayal that she put me through. She stopped contacting me when she found out that I was dating another girl. Again, I don't know what I'm looking for in this post. I just needed a place to write out my feelings. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Please hit the thumbs up so YouTube will recommend my videos. Thank you very much.